Welcome to Wednesday nights, October the 9th, Henderson and Bailey's Help. Catherine's dance team is planning a spring trip to the coast. Catherine is saving money in a bank account to pay for the trip. Her parents started her account with $100. She sells Christmas plants and adds $250 to her account for each plant she sells. If Catherine has $117 in her account, how many plants did she sell? In this problem here, we're a little bit lucky because it already gives us the equation. T equals 100 plus 2 and 5/10 times P. In order to solve this, though, we have to know what each letter stands for. T and P mean diddly squat to us. So we need a label, label, label. Okay, so based on this problem, we know that P stands for our number of plants, where T is our total that she has saved. Now, the way this problem's different is it actually gave us our total already. It says Catherine has saved $117.50. So that means we actually have to work backwards again. Now, since we know the answer and have to work backwards here, when you work backwards, you're trying to undo something. So that means we have to do the opposite. So if we look at our problem, $100 is what she's already saved, plus $250 per plant. So that means I want to get rid of my $100 she already has saved because her $100 is something extra on top of the plants. So to get rid of 100 would be to subtract it off. Positive 100, having 100 is the opposite is negative 100 or subtracting 100. You can think about them being the same thing. Now, if you do it to one side, you have to come over here and you have to do it to the other side. So then our $100 moves over here. Well, you're combining, the 100 and the negative 100, that went away. That's only leaving us with $250 per plant. So we have our $250 per plant. But what that 100 has done now is we have to take this $100 she already had saved away from the $117.50. So when I take care of that and subtract that off, that's only going to leave me with $17.50. Now they are multiplying 250 times the number of plants. So remember, we have to work backwards. So the opposite of multiply is divide it because I'm trying to see how many plants can fit into there. If they're each 250, I have to see how many times that 250 can go into 1750. Now guys, remember to pause the video and try to work the problems for yourself. I should have reminded you that earlier. If you're not finished, go ahead and pause the video and then play the video just to check your division work. Hopefully you paused the video and did the division by yourself. But if you look over here to the right, let me show you what I did. I had 1750 divided by 2 and 5/10. I couldn't divide with the decimal on the outside, so I moved it to the wall to make it a whole number. Whatever I did to the outside, I did to the inside. So if you look at the red arrow, I moved it over one place. Okay, now this division is not as hard as you think because 25 is the same thing as a quarter. Okay, a quarter couldn't go into 1, it couldn't go into 17, but if we're thinking money in quarters, that's like $1.75. It takes 4 quarters for $1 and 3 quarters for 75 cents. So 4 plus 3 quarters, 3 more quarters makes 7. So in all, 7 plants were sold. Okay, let's move on and look at our next problem we have for tonight. If you will skip down to number 7, It says, which equation best represents the data in the table below? Hint, substitute the values for x and y into the equation. Okay, we can do it that way. One way is we can substitute our numbers in. Okay, what I think I was saying here is that we could set up our table showing our process column with our delta y and delta x. Our delta y over delta x, hold on just a second, guys. Our delta y over our delta x is your coefficient. That's what we multiply by. But if you look at the answer choices, answer choice A, our coefficient, delta y over delta x is 3. Choice B, our coefficient's 3. Choice C, our coefficient's 3. Choice D, our coefficient's 3. If they all have the same coefficient, making that table would just be a waste of work. So we don't really want to do that. And what is different about this problem? In this problem, we not only have the x, but we also have the y on the same side together. So the best way to do a problem like this is actually substitute the values for x and y into the equation. So that's what we're going to have to do here. Now I could substitute whatever I substitute in. If I substitute in 3, I have to get an answer. I have to use 3. If I use 1, I have to use negative 3. If I use 0, I have to use negative 6, and so on. It has to be the same ones that go together. Now the problem is, if you don't like negatives, you could, of course, choose the first one, 3 and 3. So then you don't have to mess with the negative numbers at all. But in a problem like this, I absolutely love zeros, because anytime you multiply by zeros, if we were to plug in zeros, it's going to wipe it out. Now, there's something else I want you to look at. So if I'm looking at choice A, I have 3 times 0. 3 times 0 is 0 minus, and then the y I have to use negative 6. So I'm going to use negative 6. Okay, pause the video and just set up your problems. Don't worry about solving them right now. Just pause the video and go ahead and plug in your numbers, 0 and negative 6, into your equations. Okay, I hope you've paused the video and you've already set up your problems. So on choice A, we're looking at 3 times 0 minus negative 6. And on choice B, 3 times 0 minus negative 6. On choice C, 3 times 0 plus negative 6. On D, 3 times 0 plus negative 6. The best part about this one is, again, a test taking strategy. You don't have to go in order. We could take any answer choice we have and work it in any order, whatever's easiest for us. Now, besides choosing 0 and negative 6 because it's easier for me, and because the 0, anything times 0 is going to wipe it out. So if I look at this, 3 times 0 is 0. I'm not going to do A and B first because I'm subtracting a negative number. Then I got to go do all this leave, change opposite, and all this. Just a lot more work. So adding is much easier for me. So I might want to do that first just because it's easy. So I have 0 plus negative 6. Well, nothing plus negative 6 is going to stay negative 6. Here we go again. The problem's the same. 3 times 0 is 0 plus my negative 6. I still get my answer of negative 6. The problem is, though, on C, it says the answer is positive 6, where D says the answer is negative 6. So here's my match right here. And I didn't even have to do choice A or choice B. But looking at choice A and choice B, for those of you who want to know, on this one it's not straightforward. We actually have to do our leave, change, opposite. So 3 times 0 might be 0, but this is going to change to an addition. And this negative 6 now becomes a positive 6. So 3 times 0 is 0, plus 6 does give me a positive 6. On the next one, B, 3 times 0 is 0, and then do my leave, change, opposite again. And that does give me plus positive 6. So 3 times 0 is 0, plus 6 gives me positive 6. I see an error on this homework because actually not only is D the correct answer, but also A is the correct, or A is also right.